This is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
No. I am your father.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist.
You're listening to After the Ending, the only film podcast where we tell you what happens after the ending of your favorite films. And now, here are your hosts, Mike Spring and Phil Edwards.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another brand new and exciting episode of After the Ending. I'm Mike Spring.
And I'm Phil Edwards.
And tonight we are here to talk about movies and more movies and other movies, and then maybe even a couple things that aren't movies. Who knows?
That's about it, yeah. That's the show.
That's right, exactly. I mean, let's be fair. If you're not into movies, this probably is the wrong show for you. I mean, I don't want to ever drive any viewers away, but like honestly, if you don't like movies, what are you doing here? It's really what we talk about for 99% of the time, right?
But if you don't like movies and you have come here, just
welcome.
Maybe push yourself, welcome, and maybe we can convince you. I doubt it.
Right, exactly.
But if you are new to the channel, if you're watching this live, if you're on Facebook or YouTube, where this is currently broadcasting, if you leave comments on either, they will pop up so we can read them and we can comment on them, respond to them if need be, put them up on the screen. But that's just for people who want to get involved in the conversation.
Yeah, you can be in our show. It's like interactive and stuff, man. Speaking of people who have never seen movies, who don't like movies, though, Phil, I did meet a guy recently who told me that he doesn't like movies and he doesn't watch movies. And he said he probably had only seen like 5 to 10 movies in his whole life.
Wow.
This is an adult person. And I thought that was really interesting. And
yeah, there's no, you don't have to watch movies and stuff, but it is when you do meet somebody who doesn't. It's weird. Yeah. But it's not weird.
But I mean,
it's their choice.
Absolutely, of course it is. I don't care if the guy watches movies or not, but like I thought it was interesting in like that most people, there are people who are into movies and there are people who are just kind of like casual movie watchers. Most people I think would say they number at least a couple hundred movies in their lifetime as an adult, if not more. Like to say you've only watched like 5 or 10 movies in your lifetime, that's really like almost like going out of your way to avoid movies,
Yeah, I suppose you could say that depending on what your lifestyle is and your job is. If you're out in the wilderness all the time,
that's true,
maybe.
Right? I mean, I guess I should have mentioned he was a monk. Just kidding. Anyway, I thought that was interesting.
The show. Goodbye, everybody.
Well, speaking of the show, Phil, why don't you tell people what we have in store for them tonight?
Yes, well, we're going to be going after the ending of 1999's heist movie, Entrapment, which stars Catherine Zeta-Jones and Sean Connery. And we'll be talking about our top 5 favorite Philip K. Dick movie adaptations and also giving our recommendations on anything else which has taken our fancy over the past couple of weeks.
Now, I don't usually like to go crass, as you know. I mean, I'll go a little PG-13 with my humor, but as you were telling about Entrapment, it did dawn on me when you were saying, like, who's in it. I kind of, in my head, was going, like, starring Catherine Zeta-Jones, Sean Connery, and Catherine Zeta-Jones' rear end. Because let's be honest, the marketing for that movie focused about 50% on the heist and about 50% on Catherine Zeta-Jones's butt, like wiggling through all those laser beams. Like really, I think when you think of Entrapment, you think of her in skin-tight spandex, like slinking through, and a lot of focus on her rear end. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing at all. And I'm not trying to be like, crass or anything. I just think like that's what you think of when you think of that movie, I think.
I cannot deny that. Yes, it was, as you said, it was a big part of the marketing. In this day and age, it probably wouldn't fly, but this was 1999, and it was. And many people have seen it. That was the big thing that did. You do remember or recall.
And also, they were Sean Connery, like it was 1999.
Yeah.
What?
Also, Sean Connery though, because he was cool. But it's 1999. Yeah. That still only feels like it was a few years back. That doesn't seem. Oh my God, Mike, where's all the time gone?
30 years ago was the 70s. Right? I mean, I think we all know that.
That's right.
Simple as that.
5 years ago was the 2001.
Right, exactly. 5 years ago, 10 years ago was the 90s, 30 years ago was the 70s. That's how it works.
Yeah, that's it.
For people of a certain age.
Yeah, and I'm only 32. So
I'm only 27, actually, so it's ironic that works out well. So let's dive into Entrapment, shall we? It was a pretty popular movie back in the day. I think most people remember it or recognize it or have seen it or are at least familiar with it. What do you think about Entrapment, Phil?
It's one of those ones, yeah. It's, as you say, most people probably have heard of it or seen bits of it, seen the trailer, as we just mentioned. It's one of those ones which I know I've seen it. I don't really recall too much about it apart from the aforementioned things, but I mean, it's on paper, it's got a great cast: Sean Connery, Catherine Zeta-Jones, Ving Rhames, Will Patton, and it's got all to do with like an art heist, which is always good. But for some reason, it's always one of those films which slips through my mind. There's always those films which, when you see like a picture of it or somebody mentions it, you go, "Oh yeah, I remember that. I enjoyed it when I watched it," and then you turn away and it's gone. It's like the silence in Doctor Who. If you're not looking at it, it's just gone. That's what it is for me. It's been years since I've seen it.
Yep. That sounds about right.
And it was only when you mentioned in what film should we do, and that was
Right.
one of the ones on the list. I went, "Oh yeah, Entrapment."
Yeah. And the reason it made my list is I just watched it like 3 days ago. Just one of those things where I was flipping around and I was like looking for kind of I'm always looking for, because I've realized recently I've seen all the action movies. Like I'm out of action movies to watch. It's like my favorite genre. I'm always looking for ones I haven't seen. I've seen them all. And I was looking for some kind of like 90s action film or something like that. And Entrapment popped up and I was like, yes, I was just thinking about it the other day. Like, oh, I haven't seen that movie since it came out. And so I watched it, and it's exactly like you just described it. I mean, honestly, I just watched it 3 days ago. I've already forgotten half of it. It's a very forgettable movie. Like, it's one of those films that on paper should be really, really great and fun.
Yeah.
And it's not, and it's not bad. It's not unfun. It's just not great. Like, I think the writing suffers a little bit. It's a little pedestrian in the writing and some of the contrivances of the script. It's fun enough. It's an easy watch. It's a good way to kill 2 hours, but there's just nothing special about it. There just should have been some more charisma to it. Like, I feel like they could have used, like, they had some humor, but they didn't really play into that. Like, it needed a better tone. I think like it needed to have more of like a tone of something like a National Treasure or one of those movies that's like really just plays up the fun. Like, I think it wanted to take itself seriously, but it's a movie about like Sean Connery and Catherine Zeta-Jones as burglars, like, who get romantically entwined. Like, I don't know. It's just like, it should have just been a fun movie, and it isn't as fun as it could have been. But I mean, it's enjoyable. Now, to contradict myself from what I just said a few minutes ago, what I was surprised about watching it was the aforementioned Catherine Zeta-Jones's rear end was actually in the movie way less than I remembered there being, or less, at least less than I expected. Based on the trailer and the marketing and how prominent it was in that, I thought it was going to be like a really big scene, and it kind of goes by pretty quickly. And you're like, oh, boy, they played that up a lot. Like, they got a lot of usage out of that scene in the film, in the trailer, that wasn't really that big of a deal in the film. But it's a perfectly decent way to kill a couple hours. Like I said, if you haven't seen it in a while, but it's no masterpiece, that's for sure.
Well, it's the one we've picked to go after the ending, so we can only make it better.
Right,
That's
exactly.
what usually happens with these films. We make them better.
That's what I like to think. Like I said, people at least remember it or have seen it, so I think it's fun to kind of go behind after the ending. Oh, we got some comments though before we do that. No, we don't. It is spam comments. Look at
mega
that.
Spam comments. Look
That's
at
our
that.
first time getting spam comments.
It's the beauty of being on YouTube now, Mike. We get spam.
Oh, is that where it's coming from? Okay,
Yes.
that's good to know. All right. Well, that was almost exciting.
Yeah. Oh well.
Anyway,
goodbye. I'm not going to say that.
Thank you, Russian hackers.
Yes.
We're moving on. So let's get into things then. Let's get into our after the endings. Who's going first tonight? I feel like it's my turn, maybe, but I'm not sure.
I think it is as well. Yeah.
Okay. Well, if we both think it's my turn, then it's definitely my turn. But I guess I'll go through the film first to refresh people's memory, because probably most people I feel like are like you and me, who are kind of like, yeah, I haven't seen it in 20 years. And I saw it once, kind of liked it, but forgot most everything about it. So here's how it goes. So Entrapment from 1999, directed by John Emile, written by Ronald Bass, starring Sean Connery, Catherine Zeta-Jones, Ving Rhames, and Will Patton. So a few weeks before the 2000 millennium, a thief steals a Rembrandt painting in a daring high-rise heist. Unbeknownst to that thief, they are being watched by someone else. We don't know who that person is either. The next day, we meet Virginia Gin Baker and her boss, Hector Cruz, who works for a huge insurance company. Gin suspects Robert McDougal, played by Sean Connery, a master thief who's the only person who could have pulled off the heist so flawlessly. She goes undercover as Mac's new partner, claiming to be a thief. We also meet Mac's gadget guy / sometime assistant, Aaron Thibodeau. That's Ving Rhames. Jin reveals to Mac that it was she who stole the Rembrandt, and he reveals that he actually stole it after she stole it because she dropped it in the mail to hide it in plain sight. And he said, "Why steal the painting when I could just steal it from you from the mail?" So she tells him she needs her help with the heist. They pull off the theft of a $40 million mask from a museum, but Mac accuses Jin of working for the authorities after he overhears her talking to Cruz about trying to catch him in the act. She convinces him that she's really on his side, and their romantic passion gets the better of them, and they become romantically involved, even though it's against his rules. So they plan Jin's proposed heist in Kuala Lumpur at the biggest towers in the world, that big famous building that everyone knows. You'll know it if you see it.
Yeah. You jump a car between them, couldn't you?
It's what?
You could jump a car between them.
Yeah, exactly. Right. There you go, from Fast and Furious. It has to happen exactly at New Year's Eve, on the eve of the millennium, because it's like a computer heist. They got to steal $8 billion from this World Bank, and they do it, and then things go wrong, but then they try to escape, and then they end up barely getting away with their lives, but they're separated while doing so. They meet up at the train station the next day, and the authorities are there to catch Jin. Mac reveals that he set her up because Thibodeau was actually an FBI agent who caught him a couple years ago, and they've been after her ever since. He also tells her he returned the $7 billion. Spoiler, they stole $8 billion before he slips what she needs to escape into her pocket. So she escapes, and after the FBI and everybody else has left the train station, Mac and Jin reunite, and she tells him she needs him for another job. And that's Entrapment. That's where we leave off.
Boom. That's it. Montage.
Boom. I'd ask you how I did, but you don't remember the film, so you have no idea.
I believe that sounds about right. Yeah, it's got. You mentioned Sean Connery, so yeah, I believe.
Yeah, there you go. It's pretty accurate. All right, so time for my after the ending. Let me just tell you, I went a little ridiculous with this. I hope that's okay.
That's okay. It's a kind of forgettable film, so you want to go totally ridiculous and
that's what I figured. Why not? I'm gonna have fun with this one. I don't know. It starts off normal, and then it goes ridiculous halfway through. And once I got the idea, I couldn't let go of it. So make of this what you will, folks. Hope you'll enjoy it. So 6 months later, Jin and Mac are living the good life on Mac's private island. They've pulled off a number of smaller heists together to keep their skills sharp, and their romance is going strong. Sure, there's a 30-year age difference, but heck, Jin always had a crush on screen actor Michael Douglas anyway, and he's also 30 years older than her, so it doesn't bother her at all. Now they're planning an even bigger job than the Kuala Lumpur caper, to steal the #1 dime from one Scrooge McDuck, a fellow Scotsman and the world's richest man who lives in an out-of-the-way town called Duckburg. He is worth untold trillions of dollars. But all of his luck is tied into the first dime he ever made, which he keeps in this impenetrable money bin at the top of a hill. It is guarded by the most outlandish and high-tech security devices ever created, all of them custom made by a reclusive scientist named Dr. Gearloose. No one has ever successfully gotten away with stealing even a single penny from Scrooge McDuck, much less his single most prized possession. After months of meticulous planning, they finally make their move, stealthily assaulting McDuck's money bin in the dead of night. They faced laser-equipped robot arms, fake doors, steel traps, mini assault helicopters, and even a trio of clever young Boy Scouts who just happened upon the heist completely by accident. But ultimately, they come away victorious. Relaxing on their private island days later, Mac and Jin are reveling in the delight of their latest and greatest caper, and looking at their magical dime. And Mac says, you know, he's going to try to get this back. Do you think we should quit while we're ahead? Get out of the racket? Jin looks at him for a minute, thinks about it, and then says, nah, what would be the fun in that? And that's the end.
Very good. I feel like it's also after the ending of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, in a way.
I guess, yeah, there could be some correlation there as well.
Live action,
Yeah, right. That's what I thought of. I was like, in my head, I was sort of picturing it. I was like, how cool would it be? So I technically made Scrooge McDuck and Huey Dewey like into people. I reverse anthropomorphized them, I guess.
Yeah.
But in my head, I was kind of like, what if then it turned into like a hybrid, and they were like, going into this cartoon world to rip off actual Scrooge McDuck. That'd be pretty wild, but I kind of dig it. And I thought the idea of Scrooge McDuck and Sean Connery facing off with their accents would be pretty awesome. So
that will be good. I mean, life is like a hurricane in Duckburg. So.
I've heard that. That's what I've heard about Duckburg. That life is like a hurricane there. So I thought it made sense.
You get race cars, anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Aeroplanes, it's got a little bit of everything. So
the whole shebang. Wow.
Right.
No, very good. I like that. It's good.
Thank you. A little ridiculous, but sometimes you gotta take it less seriously. So all right. I am sure you will ground us in reality, or maybe not. Who knows? We can never tell with you either. So let's hear what you got for your after the ending.
Okay, well, Aaron and his FBI team have been one step behind Jin and Mac for the past 2 years. Their crimes have become more audacious, and Aaron was sure more people had to be involved. Reports on the last theft involved a high-speed car chase, and that just didn't fit the MO of Jin and Mac. Aaron had questioned one of Mac's known associates, a guy called Danny Ocean, who was serving time, but he had no idea, or maybe he was just too good at hiding what he did know. Aaron had also contacted an old friend, Catherine Banning, an insurance investigator. She'd heard nothing, but said she'd listen out for any news while she was in New York City investigating the theft of one of Monet's paintings. Another year passes, and Aaron had foiled a couple of thefts, but had failed to capture Jin and Mac. But while traveling one day, he found a note that had been slipped into his pocket. He couldn't remember how it had been done. But it was coordinates that led him to an isolated castle in Scotland. While there, Aaron found a single grave, Robert McDougall, and a letter from Jin. Mac had died the year before. It was nothing to do with their exploits. He just passed away peacefully in his sleep. Jin had then spent the time since completing all the jobs that Mac had wanted to do to honor him. She got some of his friends involved as well. But now that they'd all been done, Jin said she'd now retire. Aaron simply nodded, raised a drink for Mac, and headed home. And that's my ending.
Right. Very nice. I like it. I like bringing Danny Ocean in. Catherine Banning, was that from Thomas Crown Affair?
That's correct. Yes, that's the one.
Oh, look at me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. I'm a little impressed with myself. I used some context clues on that one, but because I didn't remember the name, but it kind of seemed to fit because she was insurance,
exactly. Yeah, Rennie Russo. Yeah.
So yeah. Very cool. All right, I like it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, nicely done. So
there you go. Partway through, then I was thinking, damn, should have turned it into like a Highlander sequel. But anyway,
I thought for a second when you said that about the finding the grave and stuff, and I was like, is he going Highlander on me? I'm not sure.
Yeah, it was only just then I went, oh no, that's what I should have done. But anyway,
right. Well, that can be the next episode. We'll do Entrapment versus Highlander. It'll be the McDougalls versus the McLeods, and then there can be only one, but it'll be lots of them. So, and Sean Connery versus Sean Connery because he was in both of them.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's Entrapment and in maybe McDougal from Entrapment is actually Ramirez from Highlander, and he survived all this time, and he's just living under different guise. And he figured since he had a Scottish accent anyway, he may as well use a Scottish name for his.
That would make more sense than Highlander 2.
Yeah, well, everything makes more sense than Highlander 2. So, all right. So there you go. Those are our after the endings for Entrapment. One last thing I want to point out on Entrapment. Much like my favorite Christmas action movie of all time, First Blood, Entrapment is also a Christmas movie because there are many scenes in it because it takes place starts 2 weeks before the millennium. So there are many scenes in the first half of the film where there are Christmas trees and Christmas decorations. So I'm adding Entrapment to the list of perfectly valid, not at all created by the internet because people think it's fun and clever Christmas movies. I'm adding Entrapment right alongside First Blood.
There we go. We heard it here first.
That's right. So now every Christmas.
Also a New Year's Eve film as well.
It is also a New Year's Eve film, actually, yes. But, you get more play with Christmas films. So you guys are looking for those Christmas action movies, those out-of-the-box thinking action movies. It doesn't just have to be First Blood anymore because that one's tired. And everyone, every year you hear about First Blood is a Christmas movie. First Blood isn't a Christmas movie. All that stuff. We all get tired of that. Now you can add Entrapment to the argument. So
yeah.
I don't know of any other action movies that are Christmas movies or not.
Sure,
Christmas
one which involved Bruce Willis. Was it?
No, there isn't one. So it's First Blood. That's it. It's just First Blood. Let's see. We got a comment coming through, which is good before this turns ugly. This is a real comment from our regular listener, Richard Brown. because of Connery, I was convinced we were going to get a line like, "I wasn't always a thief," before an appearance from a character.
I wasn't always a thief. No.
I like that, Richard. That's good. Yeah, they definitely had. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was toying with the James Bond thing, but then I was thinking in The Rock, where watching The Rock, there's always that thing where he could be actually James Bond and things like that.
Yes, and funny enough, because we had talked about, ironically, I don't know how we got on. It's weird because you mentioned originally some behind the scenes stuff for those of you guys who care about this stuff. You had originally thrown out there doing The Rock as an after the ending, and I said, I think we've done it already. And you looked and you saw that we did way back in episode 19.
Yeah.
Now, then I was looking for movies to do as suggestions, and I just went scrolling through my list of things I watched recently, and Entrapment was the first one I listed, and I didn't even make the connection that Sean Connery was in both of them at that moment. Then when I went to do my after the ending, I thought about doing a little James Bond tie-in, but I remembered that one of us back in episode 19 did that in our after the ending for The Rock. I don't remember which one of us it was, but then I was like, I don't want to plagiarize ourselves. I don't want to use the same story device twice.
Well, it's funny. I'd watched The Hunt for Red October over the weekend as well. So
yep, great movie.
It's all been Sean Connery lately, which is good.
Welcome to After the Ending, the all Sean Connery podcast. All Sean Connery, all day long, 24 hours, 7 days a week. It's all Sean Connery.
Yes, smashing.
It has been a while, Phil, since we have experienced your famously good impressions. That's the thing. We used to bring to the show pretty regularly.
Yeah, but since going to video though, I've not done them as often.
No, I know. We'll have to try and bring them back, because that was definitely there we go. That was definitely a hallmark of the show, was your world famous impressions, and there was many of them that were notable for how good they were.
Yeah, long-time listeners, before we went on, became fully video and all these moving pictures and jiggery pokery. When we were just an audio podcast, there was lots of brilliant, uncanny impressions of various movie stars and characters.
Yes.
Some of them were just, you would have thought that they did walk in. But that's the thing now, the magic is lost a bit because you can see they're not physically here when I do them now.
That's because it was often like I was confused because I'd be like, wait a minute, where did Phil go? Like, how did Harrison Ford get in the room now? And then I was like, oh, that was you doing an impression. But I guess I can see how video wise I wouldn't have the same magic. So
so I'd have to just go, oh, hello. And then, well, Christopher Walken's just walked in.
Right.
Wow.
And I'd be like, whoa, Phil, are you talking to Christopher Walken? Is he off camera right now?
He's just gone. Yeah. Sorry, Chris.
Oh man, you should have tried to maybe tilt the camera so we could have seen him, but I guess he didn't have a lot of time.
He was just bringing a cup of tea.
All right. All right. So if you're not a long time listener, that was like 5 minutes. Yeah, right. If you're not a long time listener, that was just 5 minutes of nonsense. But whatever. That's kind of what we do. So we don't, much like Entrapment did. We do the opposite. We don't take this too seriously. So we don't mind talking about nonsense.
The interesting thing, going back to Entrapment, though, the guy who directed it.
Yeah. Yes.
What else did he direct?
John Emile, who makes a lot of serious movies, I think, if I recall correctly. Am I wrong? Oh, I'm thinking of John Avnet. Never mind. Anyway, go ahead. What was your point?
I'm just trying to, because the name wasn't very familiar. I was just trying to think what else.
I recognized it. I think he did more stuff back then in the 80s and 90s. I will mention, while you're looking that up, though, also one of the, and I'm not, I don't want to get too political or whatever, but like one of the clearly worst cases of whitewashing that they didn't bother to fix a character name with, because Will Patton, who's one of my favorite actors, he's a character actor. He was in The Postman and he was in the latest Purge movie, and he's kind of like your typical, like, he's got like kind of this like Kevin Costner-y sort of vaguely southern, southwestern vibe, total white dude.
Yeah.
Plays a character named Hector Cruz. Cruz spelled C-R-U-Z. Not C-R-U-I-S-E, Hector Cruz. And I was like, I don't think this character was originally intended to be played by a white man. Just guess when you name him Hector Cruz. Like, they couldn't have, like, if you're going to then cast Will Patton, who I adore, but is also as white as they come, maybe you update his name rather than be like, why is that character's name Hector Cruz? He doesn't look anything like a Hector Cruz. I just thought it was like, wow, Hollywood, come on. Like,
yeah,
first
one
of
those things.
What's the deal? Second of all, Yeah, then I guess they named Ving Rhames Aaron Thibodeau, which I don't think is a particularly Ving Rhames looking name. It just doesn't fit him, but whatever.
FBI, it's his cover name. But anyway, John Amiel, he
I
also
know, that's what I mean.
directed.
It's like, I don't know. Thibodeau, I think of like as like your like cool jazz musician or like somebody in like the bayous of New Orleans, not like a like world traveling FBI agent played by Ving Rhames. I don't know. Just
That's true. But John Amiel, he also directed The Core, 2003.
Oh, I like that movie. That's a fun disaster film.
And Copycat, 1995.
Also a pretty solid serial killer movie.
Oh, he directed.
He makes a lot of pretty good but not great movies. It sounds like.
Yeah, lots of. He directed an episode of American Gods, a couple of episodes of The Walking Dead. That's
all
his
right,
most
so
recent.
he's moved into TV. Sounds like a lot of directors seem to be doing that these days.
Yeah. Oh, and the
All
Man
right,
Who Knew Too Little. Yeah, cool.
Interesting.
Yeah, there we go.
All right, so that is Entrapment. Let us move on to our next section of the show here, which is our top 5 list. Phil, tell us. It was your idea, so you fill us in.
Oh,
fill us in.
By
See what I did there?
I did.
But I think we should trademark that as like a thing, like a bit, like fill us in, and have like a graphic for it where I tell you like fill us in, and it's spelled PHIL, us in.
We could do it. Could be another T-shirt,
shirts and stuff. Yeah. Anyway,
fill
us in. I need like a musical drop for it too, like a stinger.
Boom, mic drop. We got another comment by Richard Brown.
Oh yeah, sorry, I'm off my game with the comments tonight. The Core remake of a better TV movie called Deep Core. I didn't realize that. Was it really a remake, or was it you just saying like because they're kind of similar, or was it like an actual remake? I don't know, but
I've not seen Deep Core.
I bet Richard knows. You haven't seen it with Aaron Eckhart and Hilary Swank?
I've not seen the Deep Core when he mentioned
tunnel. Oh, okay, yeah. I haven't either. I haven't seen Deep Core either. All right, cool. Well, let us know, Richard, if you know the actual history there. All right, so Phil, fill us in.
Yes, we're going to be doing our top 5 favorite film adaptations of the works of Philip K. Dick, the sci-fi writer who wrote a tremendous amount of books, short stories, novellas, many of which are absolutely brilliant. I've got a very cool biography all about him up there, which was an amazing read. He had a very interesting life, troubled man in places, but it's an interesting to dive into that. But yeah, we're going to be talking about the 5 films which are our favorite adaptations of his works. As you mentioned, Mike, when we're actually doing the list, there aren't actually as many films as we first thought. And I think the thing
feels like there's like a million of them, but I think
there's been lots of TV adaptations as well, TV shows.
Yeah.
The Man in the High Castle and a few other things as well.
Right. That is also Philip K. Dick. You're right. I was gonna say, here's the thing. I know some people are probably like, I don't know who Philip K. Dick is. Why do I care about this top 5 list? But here's the thing. Even if you haven't read him, I haven't read any Philip K. Dick personally. Even if you haven't read him, I promise you know a lot of his movies, because a lot of really famous movies, or at least a good handful of really famous movies, have come from being adaptations of Philip K. Dick works. So I promise you, as we get into this list, you're going to recognize a lot of these names. So that's why we did this. He's been very influential in like Hollywood sci-fi stuff, and his stories usually make for really cool and really good adaptations. So that's why we're doing this, because you'll definitely know some of these movies. So don't be turned off if you're like, I don't know who that guy is, and I'm leaving. Trust me, we'll get there. You'll know it.
That's very true. He does. I've read quite a few of his works, and they're very good. Some of them are a bit trippy, but some of them are really good. And also some of them, when you know the films or the TV shows that are based on them, you're going, wow, they really took just such a tiny part of the actual original story, and I just went with it on that thing. But it's worth checking out if you're looking for something new to read. He's got many stories which are worth taking a look at.
Yeah, I've always meant to read some of his stuff. I've just never gotten around to it. So, a little known fact: Entrapment is actually based on a Philip K. Dick story that was originally called "Shapely Rear End of a Thief," and I think they just kind of took the basic core concept and ran with it. So, I'm just kidding. And in case anybody thinks I was not kidding, I was just making that up.
People doing a search online. I don't remember that Philip K. Dick story. Oh my God, what's that?
That sounds like a
I
good one.
read everything.
Read that. I thought I read everything he wrote, but I missed that one. I want to read that one. All right, so I think it's your turn to kick off then, since I went first last time. Do you want to start with your number 5?
Yes, my number 5 is a film from 1995, which is directed by, because I've got to write it down, Christian Duguay. Apologies, I got that wrong, but it is Screamers, which is based on a short story from 1953 called Second Variety. This one stars RoboCop himself, Peter Weller.
Yep.
And looking else, lots, not really any of the too biggish names, but lots of faces you remember. But it's all about a space outpost, and they're using, they're protected by these robots, which end up evolving and turning against the humans. And it's called Screamers because these robots, they make this screaming noise when they're about to attack. But it's quite tense. I remember it's all starts off in a small outpost. These soldiers are trapped within this outpost, and they're getting attacked by these screamers and getting wiped out one by one. Then it's sort of, as they evolve, they realize that these screamers can change the shape and become human. So it's a bit like Terminator as well in that respect. I remember being tense. I enjoyed the first half more than the last half. It sort of got a bit all over the place, but yeah, it's one of those low budget ones from the 90s, which you'd put on and go, wow, this is amazing. And then it was a little bit deeper than you thought in some places and a little bit cheesier in others. But I always remember enjoying it, and that's my number 5.
All right, very good. I figured number 5 would be where we differentiate a little bit, and I was right. I do like Screamers, though. It is, like you said, it's a good B movie, for sure. It's definitely a B movie, but it's fun, and it's got some neat stuff in it. But it didn't make my list, and I'm guessing my number 5 probably didn't make your list. My number 5 is, I didn't look up the years of the movies this time. I forgot to. I was looking up the years of the stories, so I forgot. But it's from the 90s. It is Imposter, starring Gary Sinise and Madeline Stowe and Vincent D'Onofrio. It is based on a 1953 short story of the same name. And I actually mentioned this one not long ago, a couple months back. We did it in our, when we were doing one of our five most recent movies we watched. I had watched this one a few months ago, and I remember it coming out in the 90s and being pretty disappointed with it. And then I watched it again a couple months ago, and I actually really liked it quite a bit this time. It was much better than I remembered it being. Yeah, I think it's kind of gotten better with age as opposed to gotten worse with age. So I enjoyed that movie. It's a good one. It's not a masterpiece, but it's a fun kind of sci-fi action thriller. When you hear some of the other Philip K. Dick movies, if you remember Imposter at all, which most people won't, you'll kind of go, oh yeah, I can see how that fits in with some of the other stuff he's written. Some themes in some of our movies tonight, but it's a fun little sci-fi flick worth checking out. Like I said, it's called Imposter with Gary Sinise. Good stuff.
Yeah, just checking. That looks like it came out 2001 or
2001. Okay, it's got a very 90s aesthetic to it.
Yeah, so. Yeah, definitely. But
yeah.
I remember when you mentioned it last time. I meant to rewatch that, but I've just not been able to find it. So check it out. My number 4 is from 2011. It's a romantic sci-fi thriller. It's The Adjustment Bureau, which is based on the 1954 short story Adjustment Team. This one stars Matt Damon and Emily Blunt, and Matt Damon finds out that there's a group which are manipulating events, and he thinks it's some kind of conspiracy, but then he finds out that they literally can manipulate everything, and he falls in love with Emily Blunt, and it's just a twisty, turny. It is more romance than anything else, but there's some cool chase scenes. It's all to do, if you have these hats on, it means you can sort of see the doors, and I remember some good chases going through the doors, and using the Adjustment Bureau's abilities against them. It wasn't. I remember enjoying it at the time. I've not rewatched it since, but I always thought it was a really good adaptation. And the Adjustment Bureau. I think I've actually got it on Blu-ray, but I don't think I watched it since. But it's directed by George Nolfi as well. But that's from 2011. That's my number 4.
All right, good choice. My number 4 is a movie I'm expecting to see on your list, but probably higher up than I put it. It is a Minority Report, starring Tom Cruise and directed by Steven Spielberg, based on the 1956 short story, also of the same name, Minority Report. And of course, it is about Tom Cruise, who plays this guy who's in the precog division that can see crime before it happens. And then, of course, what happens when he gets accused of a crime that he hasn't committed yet? Well, he's got to go on the run, and of course lots of Tom Cruise, Steven Spielberg things happen from there. It's a good film. It was a big hit when it came out. I like it. it's got a tonal thing. It's a little on the dark side, which is fine, but like it's not a movie I rewatch over and over again. It has been a few years now, so now that we're talking about it, I'll probably be like, oh, I should watch that. I do like the movie quite a bit, but I don't love it. Like I just really like it. You know what I mean? It's kind of right at that cusp for me. But Minority Report. So like I said, right there, I told you guys you'd know some of these movies. Minority Report was a big hit. So that is my number 4.
Okay, doc. That's yes. I'll may well get to that in a bit. Okay, my number 3. For some people, this may be surprising, but for long-term listeners, it won't be. But my number 3 is Blade Runner from 1982. It's based on Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, the novel from 1968. I think it's a beautiful film, some amazing performances, but every time I watch it, I like it a little bit less because it just sort of. I think the opening's amazing. Everything, as I say, it all looks amazing, but it just sort of sets up all these scenes. Where's it going? Oh, it's done and it's over. And you're going, oh, yes. I always feel like there's a film which has about 7 or 8 different versions. You know, it had problems to begin with, didn't. But anyway, we talked about this a long time in the past, a few times. I really enjoyed the Blade Runner video game from years ago. I'm really looking forward to the Blade Runner role-playing game, which is coming out, which is currently starting by Free League Publishing. But the film itself, just, yeah. I mean, I always start watching it with excitement, and then by the time I get to the end, I go, oh, no. But anyway, that's my number 3. We all know Blade Runner.
We do. I told you guys, you know these movies. What did I say? My number 3 is also Blade Runner. I put it in the exact same spot as you. And I think we've been in an agreement on Blade Runner for a long time, right? We both like the film. Neither of us loves the film. I have a lot of the same problems with it that you do. It took me years to be able to watch the whole thing. I finally got through it, and I recognize it's a good movie. But I actually just watched it again a couple months ago, and I felt the same way as you. I liked it a little bit less. Like, it's got some great parts. There's some things I like about it, but it's a really weird and dark kind of film. The thing I was talking about, I think I've told the story before about how the one movie my wife and I really disagree on is Children of Men, right?
Yeah,
dark, post-apocalyptic, not post-apocalyptic, dystopic future type of thing. And I would have never made her watch that movie or had her watch that movie because I know it's not her kind of movie. She watched it with her family when I wasn't around one night, and she hates it. And I was like, I said to her after I rewatched Blade Runner, I was like, I think I found a movie that you would like even less than Children of Men. And she's like, what is that? I was like, it's Blade Runner. She's like, really? I said, yeah, because it's got all the same tonal issues and everything like that of Children of Men, but then it adds in all this really unpleasant, weird imagery and body horror and, just characters that are talking strange and it's always raining and all this, and there's prostitutes and all this stuff. And I was just like, man, I can't think of a movie that my wife would like less than I think than Blade Runner. You know what I mean? Because it's just that kind of thing. It's kind of sleazy, in a way. Not like in a Texas Chainsaw Massacre kind of way, but it's just it's not a film that you watch and then you feel good about yourself and you have a spring in your step. Yeah, that was fun. I'm gonna go out and ride my bike now. You know what I mean? I don't know. So anyway, I like Blade Runner, but again, number 3. That seems about right.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed Blade Runner 2049. Maybe I think with the two together, I think the world. I always find the world building brilliant, and I said the effects are fantastic as well. But
I have a lot of opinions on Blade Runner 2049. We'll be here for 3 hours if I get into that. So,
but it's a shame though.
It's okay.
We did. And before I meant to have it up. Sorry, we did go after the ending though of Blade Runner before Blade Runner 2049 came out.
Right.
But that was in episode. Where's it gone? Episode 20, the episode after the one we did the Rockin', yeah. So there we go. Yeah,
well,
crazy.
How do you like that? That's interesting.
Yeah,
we're hitting up all the old haunts tonight.
Yeah, so you've done your number 3, and
I have, yes.
Blade Runner number 3. Okay, my number 2, you've already mentioned it, is Minority Report, 2002. I really like this. Again, it's the visual thing. I don't know what it is about Philip K. Dick's work, but it seems to really inspire film directors and designers to just do some incredible stuff. I remember Steven Spielberg when it was being made, he got a load of futurists, I think he called them, other writers, other designers and things to get in to make these, what could be feasible in the near future. And that's why you have the cars looking the way they do and all this kind of stuff. I love the whole setup. I think it looks great. Some great performances. The whole concept's really good. Although you start thinking about it too much, it falls apart a bit. But it's just, I like the action in it. I know you said it goes it's a bit dark in places, but I quite like that as well. We also did we go after it? Minority Report. Yeah, we went after the ending of that back in episode 38.
Oh, at least we didn't go to episode 21. That would be like a weird coincidence.
Yeah, that would have been crazy. Yeah, there's some really tense scenes. The bit with the spider things and when he's getting his eyes changed and stuff, some tense stuff. That's my number 2.
All right, very good.
I've not read the book it's based on, though, so I can't tell you how close that is. I've read what to do. Yeah, but that's so I can
right.
Sorry. Yeah,
it's a short story too, actually. So I'm imagining it's probably a lot different than the movie.
Yeah.
All right. Well, my number 2 has already appeared on your list, and it is The Adjustment Bureau, which you mentioned just a few minutes ago with Matt Damon and Emily Blunt. I'm going to take a stab out there and say I'm probably the biggest Adjustment Bureau fan in the world. It's not like it's like my favorite movie of all time or anything like that. It's my number 2, right? But I really, really, really love Adjustment Bureau. I've watched it several times. Every time I watch it, puts a big smile on my face. I really enjoy it. I love that it's a science fiction film that also has this really great romance at the core of it. I think the romance really works. I think the visuals work. Like you said, they do these things where they can run through doors and they transport them basically. So it's like they go in a door in like a subway and they come out in like Times Square, and they're being chased like that. And I feel like it's just a really underrated movie. And every time I watch it, I fall in love with it a little bit more. I just think it's one of those kind of like near perfect, films that crosses genres, and it's just, to me, is just kind of like a little bit magical. You know what I mean? I'm not going to hold it up as like the greatest film ever made or anything like that, but I have a real soft spot for it. And I think I probably sing its praises louder than just about anybody else out there. So that's my number 2, Adjustment Bureau. If you haven't seen it, do yourself a favor. It's a really, really good film. I think most people would enjoy it.
Cool. Yeah, we have some similarities. I'm glad you like it. Yeah, I think I might get that down off the shelf and maybe get that watch this week. Okay, my number 1. I have a feeling that we might have the same number 1.
I was going to say, I think we probably are heading the same direction here.
Yeah, but my number 1 is from 1990, and it is Total Recall, based on the short story from 1966 called We Can Remember It For You Wholesale, which I remember reading years ago and enjoying, and there was some quite differences, but Total Recall, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Paul Verhoeven, get your ass to Mars and all that stuff. But I love this film. I watched it recently when they re-released it on Blu-ray. It was all restored, a great restoration as well. Everything was clearer and still some dodgy green screen, but on the whole, it looked stunning. I always loved the story. I love the thing going, is it real? Isn't it real? Some great action. Arnie acting quite well. And Michael Ironside being cool. And just, so many good bits. Always a joy to watch. And that's my number 1.
Yes. Well, no big surprise, though, obviously. As you mentioned, my number 1 is also Total Recall. Really just a movie I've always loved from the first time I saw it back in 1990, which was only 10 years ago, as we discussed earlier, right? So it's not even that old of a film. But I mean, at the time, the special effects were like completely mind-blowing, right? They were, when he's running through the X-ray scanner thing, like you look at it now, it's not that special, but back in 1990, that was the coolest thing.
That's ever. Still a pretty decent one, though.
Holds up. Oh, it holds up well. I'm just saying it's not like we haven't seen stuff that's more impressive than that now. But at the time, you were like, how did they do? That's amazing looking. It's like one of Arnold's best films. It is, it's so much fun. It's a great sci-fi story, and it could have just been a sci-fi action movie, but it has this whole trippy layer of the like, which memory is real, which Quaid is real, all that stuff. And that makes it really great. So I love me some Total Recall, and that's my number 1 as well. So I had a feeling that was going to be both our number 1s because kind of had to be,
Yeah, and I'm glad neither of us picked.
We do have a comment. The what?
I was just going to say I'm glad neither of us picked the Total Recall remake.
Oh, okay. So interesting story though, is that I rewatched that recently, a couple months back, and I actually enjoyed it quite a bit. it's not a patch on the original. You know what I mean? Like you kind of have to look at it as a slightly different film. But I think that the remake is one of those films, much like the Thing remake prequel from 2011, that when you watch it a second time with some distance from the first time, where all you're like, is how could they remake Total Recall? And you just watch it as its own film without any expectations. It's actually quite enjoyable. I really liked it the second time around. So it did not to make my list or anything, but I was surprised by how, because I remember being very lukewarm towards it when it first came out, but I think it holds up better on second viewing after you've had some time to get away from the idea of like, you can't remake Total Recall, you know. Just sort of watch it as like its own film type of thing, and it's pretty enjoyable.
Okay, I might give it another try if it comes on somewhere. Yeah.
You might be surprised. That's all I'm saying. You might not be, but you might be. We have another comment. It's a follow-up comment from Richard. Deep Core is not listed as a source for the core, but it is near the same as Infernal Affairs and The Departed, or Insomnia and Insomnia. Now, The Departed is an actual remake of Infernal Affairs, and I don't care what anybody says, Infernal Affairs is 10 times better than The Departed, because The Departed is super overrated. Infernal Affairs is an amazing film that no one's seen because it's not in English. So I'm a little touchy about that. Insomnia and Insomnia, I know Insomnia. I don't remember if it was officially remake or not, but thank you for mentioning that. So, and he says, and so happy to hear your Philip K. Dick lists. Thank you. As well as finding out someone else here has watched Imposter and Screamers. Of course we have. At least I've seen Imposter. Phil, I think, has not, if I recall correctly.
I've seen it a long time ago.
Oh, all right. I thought maybe you hadn't seen it at all. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
so
no,
Phil,
I realize I have seen it, but yeah.
And then he says, and I'll put the Adjustment Bureau on for a romantic night with the Mrs. Movies. She says, not again. I say it's in the book.
It's in the book.
I agree with you. It is an excellent movie to watch with your spouse, partner, you know, significant other, whoever it may be, because it's a great romance without being like a sappy romance. But then it also has science fiction and action and cool special effects. So it's a little something for everyone. Kind of like Deadpool. How Deadpool was like a comedy superhero movie, but also had a good romance at the core of it. That's the Adjustment Bureau, even though they're nothing alike at all. But
yeah,
I'm just on a tangent here. So thanks, Richard.
Thank you very much.
All right. So that's our top 5 Philip K. Dick movie adaptations, as promised. A lot of movies you guys have heard of, right? And that you know and that you've seen. Told you guys. You guys gotta listen to me. Just trust in your Uncle Mikey. That's not a thing. It sounds weird when I say it.
It does sound very weird.
It sounds like I'm trying to get you to take my free candy and inside my van or something like that. I want
some candy. Oh, Predator.
I forgot about that. What's that one from?
Predator 2, I think.
What is it?
I'm sure it's Predator 2. Isn't it? When
Predator
the kid goes...
Okay.
Yeah, when he records the kid.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
Yeah.
All right. So now at the top of the show, I said we talk movies, and nothing but movies. But now we might talk about something other than movies, because it's time for ATE Recommends, or After the Ending Recommends, wherein Phil and I talk about things that we're digging on right now. Could be movies, but could also be things like books or games or toys or comics or food or music or who knows what. It's been a little bit of everything. So we got some recommendations for you guys.
We do indeed.
Who's going first? You want me to go? You want to go?
You did. Yeah, it's your turn. You go first.
All right, but I got to switch up the on-screen thing real quick. So let me do that. No, I can't. Oh, because I moved my screen over. Hang on. Everybody hold tight. I'm just going to turn it off for now, because people know. We don't need to explain it in the ticker what we're talking about. We're talking about recommendations. Here we go. All right, I'm going to go big view so people can see the things we're showing them. My first of 2 recommendations tonight is Blockbuster The Party Game. Oh, yeah. This is an amazing... Yes, it is an amazing movie-themed party game. But here's the best thing about it. First of all, it's super fun because I played it. I got it as a birthday present. I love it. It's awesome. Thanks, Mom. But here's the thing. Because of the gameplay mechanics, it is not one of those like a movie trivia game where like if like people don't want to play movie trivia games against me because they know they're usually going to lose, right? Unless I'm playing with people who are also big movie buffs. Most of my friends aren't as big a movie buff as I am, so people don't want to play. Nobody will play comic book trivia games with me, right? This game, it's not just about how much you know about movies. It helps to know some about movies too, but my team, it's a team game. My team played another team, and we almost lost our first game because Again,
Okay.
it can come down to timing, creativity, and things like that. So here's how it works. And here's what's even better about it too. There's two kind of halves to the game. So there's two kind of gameplay mechanics, which is really cool. So the first thing you do is you get like a movie card, and it's like movies that start with the letter W. And then each person, the designated person, kind of like Family Feud, you kind of go back and forth naming W movies with like, you have like a 5-second timer until you run out of time, 15 seconds, till you run out of them, right? And then whoever is the first person to not get one of those, they lose, you win. So then what you do is you take the cards and you pick the 3 best cards for your team and you give them the 3 hard cards, okay? So then what you get is you have a certain amount of time to do. You have 3 cards, and they all fit into one space. You have 3 different categories. So each card, you have to put 1 card in each category. You got to figure out which one to try and get your partner to guess it. You get 1 word, which is where you literally have 1 word to describe the movie, and they have to guess what it is. Okay, so you got to there's some strategy here in which card you put into which space, right? Because what movie could you describe with 1 word? You got to think about that. Then there's quoted, where you have to give your partner a movie quote. Doesn't have to be a real quote from the movie. So like, it's just to be something that would be said in the movie. So if you were doing like King Kong as your movie, you could be like, whoa, look at that giant gorilla, or something like that, right? If you know a real quote, you can use it, but you don't have to.
Yeah.
So that's good for the people who aren't like, And then the other one is to act it out, which is pretty common in these games, but you have to reenact the scene or something from the movie to help somebody guess what it is. And then you go back and forth and you get points for having to get right and all of that stuff. We had a blast playing it. It's a lot of fun. Really enjoyed it. And it's relatively cheap. I think you can get it for like $20, $25. So blockbuster party game. Super highly recommended. That's my first recommendation.
That's good. Because I've fancied getting that game myself, but I had thought, because if you know films really well, it wouldn't be that good. But I understand now how it doesn't really matter. Yeah. Okay, that's good.
Exactly. Yes, and it's called a party game for a reason. You need 4 people to play it because you have to do it in teams. So you got to have at least 2 people, but you can have more than 2 on a team. That's what's fun about it too. Because you can have 3 or 4 people on a team if you want. But for the price, especially, if you can get together with some friends, I highly recommend it, because again, you don't have to be movie experts. There's some, you get some advantage if you know movies really well, but it's definitely people who are more casual movie fans can play as well and have a lot of fun with it. So
cool.
Yeah. My other recommendation this week is this beauty right here. It is the Wolverine Weapon X oversized hardcover. As you can see how big it is.
Look at that. That's nice.
It's a hardcover graphic novel. It is the collection of the classic and seminal Weapon X storyline by Barry Windsor Smith. It was the first origin story we ever got for Wolverine. For those of you guys who don't know, who aren't longtime comic readers, for the first 30 years Wolverine was around, nobody knew his origin. It was a complete mystery. So Weapon X didn't tell his whole story, but it was kind of like how he got his adamantium skeleton and all that stuff. And Barry Windsor Smith, who's a legend in the industry, just has this amazing artwork. And so they remastered the whole thing. It's on these giant pages in color with beautiful Barry Windsor Smith artwork and beautiful new colors. And it's kind of bloody and violent and science fiction-y, and there's all these wires and metal things and claws and everything. It is beautiful. It looks amazing in the giant paper. The colors are just, look at that. It's a beautiful thing. And it's ginormous, and it's the best I've ever seen it look. And I've read this story a half dozen times over the years, and it was like reading it for the first time all over again. It's relatively affordable too. But yeah, Weapon X, it's in hardcover, it's remastered, it's beautiful. And it's a great Wolverine story. It just looks amazing. So that's my other recommendation this week. Available wherever.
What's that one? What's that called? Has that got a special name for the edition? Like it's an omnibus or something?
That's a good question. It's not an omnibus because it's not long enough. It's only about 180 pages total, maybe. I think it's you can see it's not quite omnibus. Thickness. It is. I want to say it had. I think it's when I ordered it, it was something just like deluxe edition or something along those lines. It's Weapon X, and it was like deluxe presentation or something like that. But I believe it's the only hardcover they've done of it that's oversized, so that should be helpful in finding it, because it is I don't know sizes that well, but it's probably 10 by 13 or something like that. It's not just standard comic book size. So
that's good.
And it's the only one with this cover. So.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
very good. I might have to get that.
It's definitely worth it for sure. Okay. All right, so Phil, what do you have for us today? What is on your recommendation list?
I have a book, a novel, and a game, which are both film related.
Okay, cool. I like it.
Okay. So my first one is my brother got me these. He got me the full trilogy because he'd been listening on Audible. But it's I've just finished the first one. It is Thrawn, Star Wars Thrawn by Timothy Zahn, which is the reintroduction of Zahn into the new or the current version of Star Wars. I really enjoyed it. It takes us into the mind of Thrawn. I always liked the character. If you've seen Star Wars Rebels or read the previous Thrawn novels he did, which are no longer canon, you will know how good he is, how cool he is. If you've been watching The Mandalorian, you will also know that Ahsoka mentioned Grand Admiral Thrawn in the episode in season 2 as she turned up. But I thought it was amazing. You really get to see inside his mind, how he works. You get to see you get to read how he sees as well. And his senses are slightly different, which I really enjoyed. You also feel like you're on his side a bit more than, whereas when you have seen him in the past, you're always going, oh no, he's going to get the rebels. Oh, but this time you're going, no, I want him to win. I want him to be successful. He's good. But I've got the other two, which I am looking forward to check out, which are Thrawn Allegiance or something. I can't remember the names, but one of them he teams up with Anakin, which I'm looking forward to as well.
Oh, cool.
That's that one. Thrawn came out in 2017.
I haven't read those yet, but I always loved Thrawn because the original Heir to the Empire trilogy that he was introduced in is phenomenal, and he's such a great character, and I loved him, back then. So I've been meaning to get around to these. I just haven't, but now I may have to put them higher up on my list because now I'm like, oh, I got to read those. So very cool,
very good. I mean, I wanted to read them, and it's just because my brother gifted them to me that I thought, I was made up. But it's actually
it's fantastic.
The second thing is a game which it's a bit of a cheat because I haven't actually played it yet, but it's kind of like I want to show off, but I want you to know it's out there. But it's I backed it on Kickstarter and it arrived the other day. Oh, it's a heavy one. It's The Thing, the board game, my all-time favorite film.
Yeah, I'm jealous.
Look at that. Beautiful.
I don't know how I missed that on Kickstarter. I feel like I didn't see it on Kickstarter.
Look at the artwork on the back. Look at that. Look at that.
Amazing.
So I did. Looking forward to playing it. There's another game based on the original short story called Who Goes There, second edition, which I've also got and I've not played. I'll show you again.
Hold it up again because I forgot to put you in the big view.
There we go. That's and it comes with all little cardboard standees and things with cool art and a cardboard board. But I sprung for the neoprene mat. I also got the Norwegian base expansion and also got the some miniatures, so I'll have to paint them. The human miniature set, I've got another couple of boxes, not got them all here, but there's the human miniatures.
Oh, cool.
Which you can see they actually look like them, which is amazing.
Yeah,
and there's
awesome.
also the alien miniature set, which
cool.
Look at them. And when it focuses, there we go.
Yeah, that's awesome.
The detail is stunning. I'm gonna have to paint them at some point, but I want to make sure I do a good job. But I'm looking forward to playing that because it is, I have to think, very good. Well, that's it. You can only play it the once.
Richard says, I hope The Thing board game is fireproof, which, of course, if you've seen The Thing, you get why that's funny. And if you haven't seen The Thing, then really you should just go see The Thing because it's one of the greatest movies of all time. So, nicely. Well played, Richard. Well played.
But it says it's ages 13 plus, players 1 to 8. So you can play it solo, which is interesting.
I like that.
Immerse yourself in a highly cinematic atmosphere full of pathos. Manage the base wisely using your actions while you look for a way to escape. But first, you have to find out who among the players at the table is the thing hiding under a veil of fake humanity. You must cooperate to survive, but who is really on your side?
That sounds pretty awesome. Well, you definitely have to let me know what you think. Let everybody know what you think once you play it, because somehow I missed it on Kickstarter. How long ago did you pledge? I imagine with games, it's a pretty long turnaround time, right?
I think it was either late 2019 or early 2020.
It might have been when I was on game hiatus, but I will probably be picking that up if you report in that it's got good gameplay. So let me know once.
Well, I hopefully get to play it soon. But I'm also waiting for a board game, They Live, which is
oh, really? How did I miss that?
Yeah, that was even
tell me about these things, Phil. All right.
There's meant to be one coming out in. It's not on Kickstarter yet, but they keep saying it's going to be based on Escape from New York, which will be interesting.
Oh, cool. Next, you're going to be like, I'm just waiting. I pledged. I'm just waiting for my Adjustment Bureau game to come in, And
you
know
mean
about that,
this?
right, Mike? Yeah. Curse you! I need that game.
Yeah, this new Casablanca board game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, that's cool. Definitely very, very good. I'm excited about those. I definitely have to check those out. So awesome. All right. Well, there you go. Those are our recommendations. Hopefully they'll give you something good to look forward to. We got a couple of games there, a book, comic, a little bit of everything tonight. So then you know what time it is, though. When we finish our recommendations, that means it is about time for us to finish up. So we're going to leave you guys for now, but we'll be back as always because you can't kill us. We're kind of like the Thing in that way. Please don't try to kill us with fire. I appreciate that. Neither one of us.
Yeah, because that will hurt. It will hurt.
Yeah, it will. Yeah, we're not really like the Thing in that way. You just can't get rid of us, but hopefully in a good way. So that is going to wrap up our episode. But thank you to everybody for watching and or listening. Thank you to Richard for commenting. Always a pleasure. Yeah, I guess that's going to do it. Phil, any parting thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's everything for now. But let us know what your favorite Philip K. Dick movie adaptations are, or TV adaptations, because there's been many of them as well. But and if you haven't read any of the books that the films are based on, but you get a chance to read them, let us know what you think of the books compared to the movies. It's always good to hear from you.
Absolutely. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
And like and subscribe and leave reviews wherever you listen to this, because it does help.
Absolutely. All right. Now we got all the viewers coming in right at the last minute. Like I was wrapping up, our numbers are going up. So I don't know what to tell them.
Always the way. Always the way.
Oh, now they're leaving again. So because they realize we're almost done. So that's okay. All right. So join us next time live if you want to get in on the action earlier. But in the meantime, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening as always. Yeah, that's it. I'm Mike Spring.
And I'm Phil Edwards.
And we'll see you next time.
After the ending.